Hello, Mr. H here with you. Welcome to the 20th century, and isn't the 20th century awesome? 19th ended with a bang, with a big victory in the Spanish-American War, and then our friend McKinley gets reelected. He takes Teddy Roosevelt, the hero of San Juan Hills, as vice president, just storms through the 1900 election, got term number 2 there in the pocket, gets inaugurated, decides to go visit Buffalo, not really sure why, and he gets shot. And the guy who shoots him, there's his name, Leon. Take a shot at that last name. Go ahead. Pronounced Shelgosh. Right, we grew up in Pittsburgh, you learn how to say Polish names. Nonetheless, our friend Leon Shelgosh was an anarchist. He hated government, wanted to destroy the United States government, and decided to shoot it in the head. Actually, he shot him in the chest, but you got the point, metaphorically. He kills McKinley, and it doesn't work out that well because, say one thing about our government, it's pretty well organized, so sometimes the president, vice president steps in. So McKinley dies, in comes Teddy Roosevelt, and our friend Shelgosh heads straight for the electric chair. Moral of the story? Please do not try to shoot the president. Here's another moral I wanted to give to you. Do not invite this man to your party. There's Richard Todd Lincoln. Nice enough guy, but bad luck seems to follow him around all over the place. He was there when his father Abe Lincoln was shot. He was there when Garfield got shot. He was there when McKinley got shot. Are you seeing a pattern developing here? I also have a question. Where's the security for the president, man? It's the third one you've lost in 35 years. Yeah, something to think about. Not telling you how to do your job, but, the record kind of speaks for itself. Well, Teddy Roosevelt's our new president now. No one really knows what to make of this guy. They know about San Juan Hill. He's kind of an explosive kind of dude, big, active kind of guy. No one's really sure what's going to happen with this guy, but I can assure you one thing, it will not be boring. Speak softly and carry a big stick is something he used to say. It says a West African proverb. Of course, this is Teddy Roosevelt we're talking about, so it's more like screaming, shouting, and waving a bazooka. Now, we have a domestic side of politics. We have a foreign policy side. Here's the foreign policy side. As you can see, he's got his big stick and he's ready to hit anybody who comes near America. He will defend his country. Everyone knows this. San Juan Hill, people don't forget things like this. Here's the domestic side. Teddy Roosevelt is a progressive. We'll talk about progressivism in a second, but right now, progressivism, suffice to say, is about fighting the monopolies. It's about creating good work conditions, right? Something, just basically doing the right thing. He's very concerned about the corporate welfare. He's a very conservative guy, Republican, but he is willing to step out and fight the monopolies and do what is right for the entire country. Now, what, pray tell, is progressivism? Here's the official definition. It is a response to industrialization and its byproducts, immigration, corruption, urbanization, growing corporate power, and class divisions. All right, let's break this down here. It's like eating a big chocolate cake, right? You don't shove the whole thing in your mouth, you just take it one piece at a time. Immigration. Problem we've had from day one, problem still have today. How do you regulate immigration? Do you just let everybody in? Certain people in? If so, who do you let in? What can they contribute to the country? In the late 19th century, early 20th century, a lot of people coming in. They tend to stay in the cities at first, and there's way too many people living in too small of a space, not enough jobs, horrible working conditions, trying to get people integrated into the country. Bit of a problem. We've got to find a way to regulate it. Sounds like today. Government corruption. We already know about that. The boss tweeds all over the place. Have to do something about that because corruption has a tendency of destroying freedom. So we have to take care of corruption. Urbanization, again, terrible living conditions. The cities are becoming basically a version of Hades everywhere you go. You shouldn't die just living there, right? Ventilation, sanitation, all sorts of problems in urbanization. Got to find a way to control that. Of course, growing corporate power, I'm talking about the monopolies, gets to the point where they actually take over the government, and that leads to corruption, and there goes your freedom, and They destroy small businesses, they abuse the workers, and if you just leave them alone, they're going to run wild. So you got to put a chain and yank it every now and again. Of course, class division's becoming a problem. You got the super rich, and then everybody else is poor. That generally leads to a revolution, a very bad one. Who remembers the French Revolution? Yeah, you don't want that happening late 19th century, early 20th century. Better weapons, just as angry. Now, progressive presidents, going to have three of them. It's going to be Roosevelt, Taft, and Wilson. These guys are reformers. They're not radicals. They don't want to destroy everything and start over. We just have to make the necessary changes to keep everything going. And they're also Republicans and Democrats. It's not one party. Taft and Roosevelt are Republicans. Wilson's a Democrat when he shows up. And at the end of the day, what's more important? Is it your country or your party? Country comes ahead of party, and they're doing what needs to be done to help everybody in this country. Now, Roosevelt, when all is said and done, progressivism comes down to doing what is right. Roosevelt calls it a square deal. Why is square? Equal all sides. Everybody's a winner. Got good working conditions. The workers get paid well, get treated well. The business makes money. The customers are happy because everything's well priced. So, everyone's happy. Got to regulate businesses. The 8-hour workday. People love 8-hour workdays. Why? Because that's maximum efficiency. If you work more than 8 hours, your efficiency is going to drop. Unless you're a crazy, psychotic old Greek guy working at a pizza place, you can work 14 hours and love every second of it. However, most of us like to have 8-hour workdays because after 8 hours, your efficiency basically is going to decline, and you don't want to be inefficient working in a steel mill, and then your attention, kind of dissipates, and some kind of an accident, and you want to get yourself killed, your business, but you take a lot of people with you. Decent wages. People want to work and get paid for it, right? Decent wages. We want to, make some kind of money, and you don't want to be impoverished. United Mine Strike of 1901, perfect example. Roosevelt himself intervenes in this, negotiates a good deal that everybody's happy with, 8-hour day, decent wages, good conditions. This is the way it's supposed to go. He goes after corruption, the ward boss system. Remember Boss Tweed? Now we're going to have a city manager system. Basically, this is a professional city servant without an agenda, political agenda, or actually working for the mayor. He works for the city. Now, is this perfect? Not really, but it's a lot better than a ward boss system. So it's a step in the right direction. Voter-led initiatives, referendums, and recall elections. Initiative. John Q. Citizen over there has an idea about, I don't know, trash collection. So he can run an initiative, get a campaign going, petition sign, and actually change the law. Referendum. Sometimes you have your representatives vote, but sometimes they let the citizens vote on things, like annexing a suburb, or the suburb itself decides to vote whether it wants to join a city. So sometimes the citizens themselves get involved. And recall elections. This is when the guy you elect has done such a horrible job, you can't wait for him to finish his term. California's got a recall election going on right, or about to get a recall election on a governor. He's done a terrible job. They actually recalled a governor back in 2003 as well. Recall elections are not easy. They're very hard to do. As for a reason, the conditions got to be so bad you're actually willing to do this. So this is a recall election is how you grab an elected official who's doing an absolutely horrible job and get rid of him before his term is up. Child labor laws. We're finally starting to see this kind of stuff. Where were you when I was a kid? Don't worry about this page number. I was working 6 years old at my dad's pizza place, but I was having fun with it. I used to play with industrial slicers, so you're not supposed to go near them. I was having fun. Anyway, they're starting to have child labor laws. You can't have them working in mines, or if you do work in a mine, it's got to be certain conditions and certain hours. Compulsory school until age 13. It sounds pretty bad now, but remember, there was no law before 1900. So, like I say, not going to get right the first time. Got to start someplace. Women voting rights are gaining steam. It starts in the West and moves east. Don't worry about this. Why are women's voting rights starting in the West? How many people live in New York? Yeah, 10 million people. So if you have a referendum or an initiative about women voting in an election and you live in New York, how many people you need to vote yes to win? 10 million? Need half? 5 million and one. If you live in Wyoming with 100,000 people, how many people you need to win the election there? 50,001, and boom, your referendum initiative election passes. So that's why it starts in the west and moves its way over towards the east. Plus, there's a lot of parks being built inside cities. It doesn't sound like a really big thing, but actually it is. Because parks are nice green places. You can go there and play, have a picnic, hang out with your friends, get away from the crowded conditions in the tenements and the factories of the time. People need to go outside. They need to see the green. They need to see the trees and play frisbee or 19th century version of football. And hopefully, they survive that. Now, there are several progressive movements underway late 19th century, early 20th century. Labor reform is one of them. We've already talked about that. Women's suffrage, we've touched on that, and it really gained steam in the early 20th century. That's been around since Seneca Falls. Now some states allow women to vote, and now we're trying to get it to the federal level. They will succeed by 1920 with the 20th Amendment. I love these two pictures. This is a nice colorized picture from the time, makes it look real. Look at this, votes for women, that's what they want. This is an interesting photo. I like this lady, how she tries to, show some style here. Votes for women makes it, kind of jagged looking. I don't know what this lady's yelling about. I'm getting the feeling she stepped on her foot or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a discussion board about that. Here is another progressive movement, the temperance movement. You can also call it prohibition if you like. So here is Carrie Nation. That's right. Yes, that is a hatchet she's holding. A hatchet and a Bible. Quick, hide the booze. You see her on the road? You better lock that door and don't let her in because she will storm into bars, swinging his hatchet at bottles, screaming Bible verses. Yeah, it's not good for business. Eventually, they call the cops on her. They had a hard time catching this lady. I mean, it's just you'd think it'd be pretty easy to find her. Of course, they throw her in jail, and she makes bail and goes out and does it again. So, she the reason she hated alcoholism so much is that alcohol was seen as the source of many societal problems at the time. Abusive men, loss of jobs, child abuse, spousal abuse, kind of like the drug problems you have today. Same idea. And she, well, like I said, Carrie Nation is eventually successful when they get around to the uh, 18th Amendment and Prohibition. And unfortunately, Prohibition leads to a whole bunch of other stuff. Wait till we get to the 30s. Here we are. Here's another progressive movement. The drive to eliminate racial prejudice. Not easy, especially in the early 20th century, but in 1906, you got to start somewhere. And remember, a 10,000-mile journey begins with one step. And our friend W.E.B. Du Bois and Oswald Garrison Villard, they formed the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. They are going to take that first step. Yes, this is an African American gentleman. This is a white gentleman. It's supposed to be a pan-racial organization. They're working on eliminating all racial prejudice. And they take one look at that mountain they got to climb and they say, we're going to be busy for quite a while. And today, you have to admit, we've made a lot of advances. We're not done yet, though, are we? That's what's happening on the domestic side. And Teddy Roosevelt's helping out as best as he can. He believes in all of these causes, but they still got a foreign policy to run. So let's go steal the Panama Canal. How do we pull this off? I'm going to read this thing backwards. Now, Isthmus of Panama. People have been crossing that to get to the Pacific for a long time. So we were discussing the possibility of digging a canal across Panama with Colombia because Colombia owned Panama at the time. So we send our foreign minister, John Hay, down there, talk to Heron, the foreign minister for Colombia, and they were discussing the Hay-Haran Treaty. Maybe we can rent it, dig it somehow. Well, at the same time, we have a revolution in Panama. Nobody in Panama really knew about it because Panama's independence was declared in a New York hotel room. Yeah, usually when countries declare independence, it happens like inside the country. America's independence declared in America. Mexico's independence declared in Mexico. Panama's is declared in a hotel room in New York. And the guy who declares it, Philippe Banu Varilla from France, declares himself the foreign minister of Panama. So Panama's independence declared in New York. Guy from France makes himself Panama's foreign minister. Hey, the Hay-Haran Treaty gets thrown out. We got the Hay-Varilla Treaty. What a surprise. You wonder why Panama is still mad. I wonder why Colombia is still mad at us. That's right. Roosevelt has swung the big stick and hit Colombia right between the eyes with it. So let's take a look here at the Caribbean in the early 20th century. Look at this. We own this thing. We got ourselves an empire now. Cuba is a free country, but it's kind of a puppet. Remember the sugar industry. Got our own little base here, Guantanamo Bay. We've taken care of Haiti, keeping Haiti safe. We own Puerto Rico. Look at all these choke points. Own all these choke points. And we got the greatest choke point of all right here, the Panama Canal. So everything's working out pretty good imperial-wise. We've got the Caribbean belongs to us. We're a main power over in the Pacific. Time to step out onto the world stage. And we're doing it when Russia and Japan go to war with each other. We stole Panama in 1903. We'll get the canal finally built and operational in 1914. And right afterwards, Japan and Russia go to war with each other. Now, Japan has been modernizing. We're actually responsible for that. 1853, Admiral Peary sails in here, points his cannons at Tokyo, and wants a trade treaty. And since then, Japan has modernized. Why? Because it's Japan. They have a nasty habit of doing things right the first time. 1853, they're in the Middle Ages. 1904, they take on Russia and win. They have battleships, they have soldiers, they have machine guns, they have a modernized military that could take on anybody. In 1894, they fought China, won, and took Korea. In 1904, they launch a surprise attack on the Russian naval base at Port Arthur and take it. Russians send a fleet the long way around. Japan's waiting for them, hits them right here. A lot of fighting going on, and eventually Japan will defeat Russia. Revolution breaks loose in Russia. Russia's got to pull away. Started with a surprise attack on Port Arthur. Started with a surprise attack on China 10 years before then. Have you noticed Japan likes to start wars with a surprise attack? You think they could ever launch a surprise attack against the United States? I don't know, man. Philippines, maybe. Of course, we got that naval base at Pearl Harbor, but that's way too far out, man. Japanese can never hit that thing out. If they launch a surprise attack, it'll probably be the Philippines, right? Yeah, Pearl Harbor, come on, man. Delusional. Nonetheless, Teddy Roosevelt negotiates the peace between Russia and Japan, the Treaty of Portsmouth in Michigan. So he steps out and gets a Nobel Peace Prize. I think he's trying to pull some attention away from away from everything he did in Panama. But hey, he's doing something right? Trying to bring peace to the world. So that's what's happening with Teddy Roosevelt. His second term is up, and he's going to hand off to his vice president, Howard Taft. So we're going to take a quick look at Howard Taft in just a bit. In the meantime, hey, Russo-Japanese War has come to an end. We own the Caribbean. We're a superpower in the Pacific, getting stuff done at home. Wow, 20th century is a lot of fun so far, and we're getting a lot done. We'll talk about our friend Howard Taft in just a bit.